You're nice to people. You help when they ask. You say yes when you want to say no. You put others first. Always. And somewhere deep down, you believed this would be enough. That eventually, they'd see your value. They'd return your kindness. But instead, they keep using you. They take advantage. They disappear when you need help. They treat you like you're disposable. And the worst part? You don't even realize you're letting them. Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists who ever lived, discovered something disturbing about nice people. He found that the nicer you try to be on the outside, the darker you become on the inside. And that darkness? It's destroying your relationships, killing your self-worth, and turning you into exactly what you're trying to avoid. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why being nice is actually a form of manipulation, how it traps you in a cycle of being used, and most importantly, how to escape it using Jung's concept of the shadow. First, let's talk about what niceness actually is, because here's what nobody tells you. Niceness is not kindness. Dr. Harriet Breaker, a clinical psychologist, wrote an entire book about this called The Disease to Please. And in it, she reveals something uncomfortable. People-pleasing is largely driven by emotional fears: fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of conflict or confrontation, fear of criticism, fear of being alone, and fear of anger. In other words, you're not being nice because you're a good person. You're being nice because you're terrified. Think about it. When you say yes to something you don't want to do, what are you really afraid of? You're afraid that if you say no, they'll think you're selfish, get angry at you, reject you, stop liking you. So you say yes, you help, you please. And here's where it gets dark. Because you are so nice, other people may manipulate and exploit your willingness to please them. Your niceness may even blind you to the fact that others are exploiting you. Let me repeat that. Your niceness blinds you to your own exploitation. You can't see that people are using you because admitting that would mean admitting you made a mistake, that you were weak, that you failed. And nice people can't handle that. So they keep giving, keep helping, keep saying yes, even as they burn out. But here's where Carl Jung comes in, because he discovered something even more disturbing about what happens when you repress who you really are. Jung called it the shadow. And once you understand it, you'll see why being too nice is actually ruining your life. Carl Jung said, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." Here's what that means in plain English. The shadow is every part of you that you've decided is bad and buried. When you were a kid, you learned quickly. Anger equals bad. Selfishness equals bad. Saying no equals bad. Putting yourself first equals bad. Think about when you first learned to bury these parts. Maybe it was a parent who shut down your anger. Don't be so dramatic. Maybe it was a teacher who punished your boundaries. Share with others. Don't be selfish. Maybe it was a friendship where you learned love is earned through service. You buried those parts to survive, but you're not that powerless child anymore. So you buried those parts of yourself. You pushed them down into your unconscious. You created a nice version of yourself, the version you show to the world. But here's the problem. Those buried parts don't disappear. They just hide, and they grow stronger the more you ignore them. Through shadow work, people realized that underneath their people-pleasing was a deep fear of being unwanted. They had repressed anger at never being allowed to express their needs growing up. So what happens? You become a walking contradiction. On the surface, smiling, helpful, agreeable. Underneath, resentful, exhausted, angry. And people sense this. They can tell you're not being authentic. They can feel that your niceness has conditions attached. When we people please, we are distorting our true selves into a version of us that we think people will like. Being nice to someone or doing favors for someone then comes with terms and conditions, doesn't it? This is why nice people often feel so alone. You're surrounded by people, but nobody actually knows you. Because you won't let them see the real you, the angry you, the selfish you, the "I need something too" you. And here's the worst part. When you don't own your shadow, other people use it against you. Let me show you exactly how this works in real life. When you repress your shadow, you become predictable. Manipulative people, whether they realize it or not, can sense your fear of conflict. They know You won't say no. You won't set boundaries. You won't fight back. You'll apologize, even when you're not wrong. So they use it. Niceness in the face of abuse can increase the abuse. Niceness gives the other person permission and even encouragement to mistreat you. Here's what this looks like. Scenario 1. The friend who only calls when they need something. They disappear for months. They text, "Hey, can you help me move this weekend?" You want to say no. You have plans. But you're afraid of seeming selfish. So you cancel your plans and help you. They thank you, then disappear again. Scenario 2. The boss who piles on work. You're already overloaded. They ask, "Can you handle one more project?" You want to say, "I'm at capacity," but you're afraid of seeming not a team player. So you say yes. You work late, burn out, and they still expect more. Scenario 3. The partner who ignores your needs. You always adapt to their schedule. You always choose their restaurant. You always apologize first. And one day you realize they've never once asked what you want. Master manipulators use acts of generosity as a tool for manipulation. They give with ulterior motives, creating a sense of indebtedness. Then, when they need something from you, they have created an environment where it's hard for you to say no. Sound familiar? This is the cycle. You're nice to avoid conflict. People take advantage. You feel used and resentful, but you can't express that anger, so you bury it deeper, and the cycle repeats. But here's the good news. Once you understand your shadow, you can integrate it, and that's when everything changes. So how do you break this cycle? How do you stop being used without becoming a jerk? The answer is what Jung called shadow integration. Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This doesn't mean becoming cruel or selfish. It means owning all parts of yourself, including the parts you've been taught to hide. Your anger, your boundaries, your selfishness, your no. Dr. Aziz Gazipura, in his book Not Nice, explains it this way. Embracing your full self requires you to accept that qualities like violence, sexuality, selfishness, or hostility are a natural part of who you are. This is the key. You don't have to act on every dark impulse. You just have to acknowledge it exists. When you do this, something powerful happens. You stop being controlled by your fear. Because you're no longer afraid of your own anger, you can set boundaries without exploding. Because you're no longer afraid of being called selfish, you can say no calmly. Because you're no longer afraid of conflict, you can stand up for yourself. People who integrated their shadow didn't become angry or mean. They didn't repress their impulses either. They found a kind of middle path. They became more honest and less ashamed. Here are 3 immediate shifts you can make starting today. Shift 1. Name your shadow. Next time you feel resentful, ask yourself, what am I really angry about? What boundary did I fail to set? What part of me am I denying? Write it down. Don't judge it, just acknowledge it. Gazipura suggests writing down every unfiltered idea, impulse, and taboo thought you have for 15 to 20 minutes regularly. Begin with what stresses you out, what annoys you, what frustrates you. Shift 2. Practice saying no. Start small. Say no to something that doesn't matter. No, I can't help you move. No, I don't want to go to that event. No, I'm not available this weekend. Notice what happens. Most of the time, nothing. The world doesn't end. People don't hate you. And the ones who do get upset, they were using you anyway. Shift 3. Stop apologizing for existing. Nice in the face of abuse can increase the abuse. Paradoxically, if you are the target of verbal and emotional abuse, your niceness not only will fail to protect you, it will strengthen the person who is hurting you. Stop saying, "Sorry for bothering you. Sorry if this is annoying. Sorry for taking up your time." You have no obligation to be nice, no obligation to smile, no obligation to accommodate. Want to be angry? Be angry. Want to say no without explaining? Say no. You don't owe anyone your endless patience. Here's what Carl Jung understood that most people don't. Jung believed that the fully developed individual was a dangerous individual. Without fully integrating our shadow into our very being, we risked being a puppet to our darker impulses. You're not a bad person for having a shadow. You're not selfish for wanting things. You're not cruel for saying no. You're human. And the moment you stop pretending to be perfect, the moment you own all parts of yourself, light and dark, is the moment people stop using you. And when you do this, when you finally own all of yourself, watch what happens. The friend who only calls when they need you, they stop calling, and you don't even miss them. The boss who piles on work, you say, "I'm at capacity," and they respect it. The partner who ignored your needs, they either step up or you walk away without guilt. This is what wholeness feels like. Not lonely, not mean, just free. Everything we deny in ourselves, whatever we perceive as inferior, evil, or unacceptable, becomes part of the shadow. Anything incompatible with our chosen conscious attitude about ourselves is relegated to this dark side. So stop being nice. Start being real. If this resonated with you, drop a comment and tell me what's one boundary you need to set that you've been avoiding. I'll see you in the next one.